Hey y'all, so I know a lot of the lakes around the country are still frozen over. It's still really cold in Arkansas here too, but there's some parts of the country where the bass are actually moving up onto the beds and getting into their early spawn patterns, and I actually filmed a video last March in that transition between the pre-spawn and the spawn on the Arkansas River, and I never posted the video, but I thought it would be a good pattern to show you guys, especially for those who are dealing with those early spawn conditions, and hopefully it'll be fun to watch for those who still have ice on their lakes too. So here's the video, hope you enjoy. Got him. There we go, first fish of the day. A little spinnerbait here in the mouth of this little creek. Crushed that spinnerbait too. Just gonna try to find some clear water. The water out here on this main river is pretty dirty, so I'm gonna move back in these backwater areas, try to find some cleaner, warmer water. Got him. There we go. That's a better one. It's a solid 2.5, 2 3/4 pounder right there. Awesome fish. Just got that fish flipping here again on that same patch of water willow where I just caught that last fish. So that's a female, I think. That's a good chunk. It's a keeper on the river. Again, that black neon tube. I'm gonna throw him in the live well real quick. And I didn't mention this in the video, but I'm just putting these fish in the live well for pictures later. I release them all at the end of the day. Oh man, I love that flipping bite, guys. Again, got that fish on this black neon tube with the rattle in it. And what I'm fishing is some water willow here, and these fish are pulling up on the edge of this grass to spawn. And all I'm doing is I'm just working that bait really slow because these fish are on the beds. And I'm casting in there, letting it sit for about 4 or 5 seconds, and then just moving it a few inches. And the slower you fish it this time of year, the more bites you're gonna get. So let's get another one. Okay, so here's a look at the spot using Google Earth, and all it is a protected backwater area on the Arkansas River, and there's actually a rocky bank right here that has some matted water willow or some grass clumps down it, and these fish are moving up to spawn on these grass clumps. And the reason I think this bank is so good is because there's actually a ditch that's about 5 to 6 feet deep that runs right up against this bank. And the fish actually use this ditch in the winter when it's really cold. And then as the water starts to warm up and they get in that spawning mode, they'll move out of the ditch up onto this shallow bank right in that water willow. Another good one. Watch my line jump on that. Look at that fish, he's fat, it's spawning. Whew. Another good one. Oh, this guy's bleeding a little bit. Let me, there we go. So, really nice fish, just sitting there on the edge of this grass again, spawning. So, I'm gonna let this guy go real quick. He's bleeding a little bit, but nice fish again. Wow, he crushed it. I watched my line jump about 3 foot in the air. Just letting that bait sit there for, again, 5 or 6 seconds, then he grabbed it. But the spot's working really well. I've probably only moved about 100 feet since I caught those last 2 fish. And a lot of times in the spring, when you find an area and catch a few fish, there's normally gonna be a lot of them grouped up there, just because it'll have the right type of bottom composition or the right type of cover that these fish want to spawn around. Another chunker. think all these fish I'm catching right now are males, so they're not super big, but I think we're about a week early for these fish to actually, the females, to pull up on these beds. We have a full moon coming up in about 9 days, so that's when I think these fish are really gonna start moving up on these beds. And the water temp's still about 59 to 60 degrees. Normally I like the water to be around 62 to 63 to indicate that it's a full-on spawn. But still fun fish catching this little tube. And another thing about this area is you can see there's a lot of this water willow and stuff in front of me, and I'm in a protected backwater area on the Arkansas River here. And there's two really good things about fishing in these backwater areas on the river. First is you'll have warmer water because these areas are protected from the wind and the current of that main river, and they'll warm up faster. And also you'll normally have cleaner water than the main river, and whenever the fish are spawning, always look for the cleanest water you can, and you're definitely gonna get more fish. Big one. Just a good one. There we go. It's a 2-pounder. Thought he was a lot bigger than that when he bit. I could barely move him. It's a chunky one. Probably about 15 inches. Again, just in that water willow there. That was an awesome fight. Now let's take a look at one of these water willow mats a little bit closer. As you can see, the grass is pretty thick in there, and in the pre-spawn, when the water temperature is between 50 and 55 degrees, bass will actually pull up on the outside edge of this grass and on these points when you have a sunny day or a warm day. But then, when they want to start actually spawning, they'll move closer to the bank and get on the inside corners, and that's where I've been getting the majority of my bites today. And like I said earlier, a lot of these bass are buck bass. The females haven't quite moved up yet, but when you want to start finding spawning bass on these water willow mats, check the inside corners right here, and you're going to find more fish. And again, I want to emphasize how slow I'm actually fishing this tube in these water willow mats. So you can see I'm pitching that bait in there and letting it sit for 3 or 4 seconds before moving it. And I'm just shaking it in place and letting that rattle inside that tube draw any fish in the area to the bait. And a lot of times when these fish are in the spawning mode, they won't bite the bait if you only drop it in there for 2 or 3 seconds. A lot of times you have to let it just soak in there to get them to bite. And if you also notice, I'm making a lot of casts to this mat, and I'm trying to make a cast every 2 or 3 feet, because when you have this dirty water, you really have to put that bait on the fish's nose to get them to bite. Oh my goodness. That's another real nice one. It's probably a 3-pounder right there. Kind of a weird hook set, but nice result. Whoops. This wind is really bad right now, but the fish are biting. This is actually the exact same grass patch I caught my first flipping fish of the day, and I just came back to the same area and they're still here, so it's a really nice bass. I'm just gonna keep flipping around here and see if can't put a good limit together. This is my 3rd good keeper, and I just missed one actually a second ago. It was probably about the same size. So this tube and this water willow is really working today. And that goes to show too, in the spring, when you find an area that has fish or find a small stretch of bank that has fish, just come back and hit it again and again and again, because those fish will stack up in really small areas, and you can normally put a good limit in the boat just by fishing a 50-yard stretch of bank. Hey guys, so today I was using a 4.5-inch Black Neon Strike King Pro Model flipping tube, and I really like this bait in dirty water for spawning bass because I can actually put a rattle up inside this bait, and I just use these little circular plastic ones. You can get them at Bass Pro Shops, and that just really puts off a lot of extra sound in the water and helps these spawning bass find this bait. And I'll rig this with a 1/4 ounce tungsten slip sinker, and I'll put a little bobber stop on there. I just use these little Eagle Claw ones, they're super cheap. And I'm using a 5/0 Gamakatsu extra wide gap hook to rig that tube. And for my gear, I'm just using a 7'6" heavy action bait casting rod with a left-handed 6:3 gear ratio bait casting reel and 20-pound fluorocarbon line. And I really like that left-handed bait casting reel because it means that you're never gonna have to take your hand off the reel. And a lot of times these fish were biting that bait right when I dropped it in there, and if I'm not ready to set the hook on those fish, they spit it out almost as quick as they get it. So it just really helps me get a few extra fish in the boat each day. So that's what I was using. Hey guys, so I'm done for the day. Didn't catch any giant fish, but I had a lot of fun setting the hook on some of these grass fish on this tube. So if you enjoyed the video, hit like and subscribe down below, and also leave a comment if you have any questions about what I'm doing, or just let me know how you like the video. So we'll see you next time.